What is the worst thing you've ever seen? The look of horror and utter heartbreak on my mom's face while she was screaming at my dad to wake up moments after he had died from complete heart failure. Nothing will ever compare to that. I've pretty much shut out the next 2 months of memories from that day. I don't know if you want to hear this or not, but this is the straw that broke the camel's back for me. I've been pushing off going to the gym, eating healthier, and quitting smoking for like a year now. I'm going to go on a diet and stop smoking right now. My fiance and I have joked about who has to die first. We've been together since high school, so it was never a real conversation, just something that seemed so unreal it would be okay to joke about. I know, with everything she's been through in her life, if she had to go through the same thing, it would absolutely break her. I'm still questioning whether or not to post this, because I'm not trying to bring back old pain, but I do want you to know that this is what I needed to see to make this change. I'm sorry for your loss, and my thoughts go out to you and your family. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm glad you're going to improve your health. I think it was the years of smoking and drinking that did it. He wasn't unfit as he walked a lot with our dog, a minimum of 2 hours a day, and hadn't smoked in 10 years. But 30 years of smoking and drinking 4 pints a day can't be healthy. It'll be 2 years and 10 days since he died. It does put things into perspective of how quickly someone who seems perfectly healthy can die. Within 5 minutes, my dad went from having pins and needles in his chest and down his left arm to his heart effectively blowing out. I shut off massively, and I now seem to seek after women who treat me like shit just so I can feel again. It's amazing what you do when you feel hollow, but there are ups and downs when something like that happens. Sorry, I've ranted a lot. I hope that giving your health a higher priority strengthens you and gives you the longevity that you want. Road rage in Corfu. One guy dragged another guy out of the car and curb stomped his head. Just saw this kicking, frantic body just stop in an instant. People intervened fast and an ambulance was called. Saw a guy on a motorbike in shorts, a t-shirt, and flip-flops get into a hefty traffic accident. Lady decided to do an illegal U-turn over the crest of a hill. He came over the crest, couldn't brake in time, and slammed straight into the car. So much blood and massive gashes that went down to the bone. So many broken bones, so much blood. The entire shin was open and snapped in pieces. Thankfully, they were able to airlift him to hospital, and he survived. He needed 2 units of blood before they could airlift him, though. Was swimming in an apartment pool when I was a kid, like 11. The water was a bit cloudy, but the pool was very busy. They pulled some kid my age from the bottom of the pool. Had been in there for a while. Watched them perform CPR, load onto a stretcher, and leave. Mother was there, hysterical. I heard later he didn't survive. The same thing happened to me. There were so many kids at the pool that they didn't see him walk into the deep end to retrieve some goggles and never return. Watching them perform CPR on his lifeless body fucked my 7-year-old brain up for a while, especially because I had seen him around camp before. Long story short, I was about 13 years old and my best friend, who was about 15, was severely depressed and had suicidal thoughts. He decided that his time was up and he invited me over to play some video games. When I got there, he was in his room waiting for me, and as soon as I opened the door and said hi, he then proceeded to blow his brains out with his dad's 12 gauge. I'm fucking sorry you had to see that. I hope you're doing well in life. The same thing happened to me when I was 16, except it was at a meeting spot in the woods, and he had hanged himself. He was already dead when I arrived, maybe 20 feet off the ground. I looked around calling for him because his bike was by the tree. I sat down against the tree to wait for him, and when I leaned back, I saw him hanging over my head. Felt like what other commenters were saying, that it was selfish and a terrible, horrible thing to do to someone, and I was angry and depressed about it for a number of years. Eventually, I convinced myself of the narrative that he wanted me to find him because he trusted me, had no one else he felt cared for him, and maybe that was his way of not dying alone, knowing I would, in some twisted way, be a part of it. Hope you're doing well these days. It took me many years to get to a point where the trauma and confusion did not dominate my mind. A charred body in a car wreck. It was on the side of a motorway and had been cordoned off by police, but they didn't realize there was a public path under the motorway that could see up to the wreck. Left my house for a nice walk, didn't expect that. I was only 10. I saw a charred body as well when I was about 8 or 9. This guy in a house just across the field from ours was working in his garage when there was a huge boom that rattled our house. The guy's garage exploded with him in it. I guess some propane tanks ignited. Anyway, after everything was put out and sectioned off, I hopped on my bike and went across the field to where a few others were gathered. Saw him charred on the ground near the skeleton of his truck. I remember not even being that fazed by it. I'm not sure that I understood what I was looking at, but minutes before the blast, his wife and kid went on a quick walk to the store, probably saving them. I didn't know him, but he was a mechanic for my grandpa. The look on my friend's mom face after she had just found out about her son's death. I've never seen such pain in a person before. Edit, yes, my friend had died. He committed suicide. His little brother was one of my best friends, although we were all close in age. When they called my mom and told her that my brother was dead, she crawled into the closet. We have no idea why. She immediately fell to the floor and hands and knees crawled into the closet, like she wanted to hide from what she was hearing. I will never forget it. As someone who also crawls into closets and a special ed teacher who has kids who like to go into small, dark areas, it's comforting. Closets are generally dark, quiet, and comforting. They help you get away from all stimulation so you can try to calm down. It may take minutes or it may take hours. But to some people, it is comforting to be in a small, dark, and enclosed space. Edit to add, I'm sorry for your loss. I just thought you might like to know why she did what she did. The wounds on bedridden old people at nursing homes from being mistreated by other caregivers. I worked in a real shithole nursing home for a year as an aide. The other aides there wouldn't wipe the residents, so they constantly had UTIs and breakdowns. I saw some nurses screaming at residents when they asked for water, and there was a period where a lot of the residents didn't get showered for a month. I quit as soon as I could. Fast forward to when I was in nursing school doing clinical at a hospital close to shithole nursing home. We get this lady who isn't that old, but had cerebral palsy, and her parents had taken care of her, but were getting old. So they put her in a nursing home to transition her for when they would eventually be gone. They didn't have too many other options. This lady had only been at the nursing home for 2 months, but her bed sores were so large and deep that you could put your fist in it and still have room around it. We were all appalled. My clinical instructor, who worked on a burn unit, was horrified and said she had the worst skin she had ever seen. And think, you see some nasty stuff on the burn unit. Out of curiosity, I asked where she came from. Yep, shithole nursing home. I went on a date a couple of months ago, around October, and it went really well. The girl had a job, wasn't crazy, and was cute. So we decided to have a second date. The only thing was that the second date was at her Thanksgiving party, so she could introduce me to her friends and family, which I thought was a bit too early for. Anyway, I didn't have anything planned that day, so I decided to go. My job was to make the jungle juice for the party, and it consisted of the usual Everclear, Hawaiian Punch, lemonade powder, and ice combo I've used throughout college. It worked wonders and everyone got really drunk. Near the end of the party, my date and her friends told me I did an amazing job on the drink. My date also mentioned that she really liked the fruit I added into there, and that everyone at the party was trying to get some. For some reason, that did not sit well with drunk me. So I headed over to the alcohol canister to investigate. I grabbed my trusty ladle and started scraping the bottom of the canisters, and on one of the ladles, I found some chunks of meat and pieces of ramen. That's when I realized that someone puked in the jungle juice. Edit. Did not expect this to blow up, lol. I'm glad you guys enjoyed the story. I worked at a vet's office. One day, a woman brings in a kitten during our lunch break. She had found it alone under a windowsill, cold but still alive. We brought it in and determined it could only be a couple of days old, abandoned by the mom. We warmed it up and then went to examine it, then realized it was covered in a coat of maggots, started trying to clean them off and opened its mouth to give it some milk. There were maggots in there too. Finally determined it would be more humane to euthanize. Mama cats don't just abandon one for no reason. I was so affected, I kept combing through its fur to get as many maggots off as I could, even after it was dead. I felt like it was the only act of love I could provide for it. Flies are when an animal is weak, abandoned, and/or near death. They will proceed to lay eggs all over it while it is still alive. Openings are preferred mouth, nose, ears, anus, and any wounds because it is warmer, which helps maggot development and provides an easy way in once the animal expires. I worked with a wild animal rescue. When a mother animal was found killed on the road, we would go into the surrounding woods mimicking a mother's call. When we were fortunate enough to find the babies, flies, and other carrion insects would already be busy laying eggs within 24 hours, even if the babies seemed strong. If the eggs have already hatched and seem thriving, the animal is usually too far gone to save. Edit spelling. My father had a super nasty infection, and the doctors could not figure it out, so they kept sending him home. Eventually, he lost all of his intelligence and acted like someone with Alzheimer's. I had just had my daughter a few months before, and he tried so hard to tell me he got her a toy, but just got stuck on the word toy. Fuck me, my life's a mess.